Warning! The following program contains strong opinions, blunt truths, bad words disguised as sarcasm, and the occasional emotional outburst from patriots who actually pay taxes. Viewer discretion is advised. If you think facts are microaggressions and your pronouns change with the weather, this probably isn't your safe space.
So here we are again. America's lights are still flickering, and Washington's arguing about who forgot to pay the bill. The government's been shut down longer than most gym memberships last after New Year's, and now 42 million Americans are wondering if their grocery cards are going to decline faster than Kamala's approval ratings. While families ration food, the politicians are hosting press conferences about equity and fairness, buzzwords for "we'll fix it after the election." And just when you think D.C. can't embarrass itself more, Republican states start telling Trump to back off redistricting maps, because apparently even the party of order is allergic to orders. But don't worry, the chaos isn't just in Congress, it's on the football field too. The Minnesota Vikings added male cheerleaders, and America collectively asked, was this on anyone's list of national priorities? Shutdowns, showdowns, and sideline shenanigans. That's the trifecta tonight on Data and Dissonance. Let's crank up the mics and stir some thought before they shut those off too. All right, let's bring in the brain trust before they start charging us rent for airtime. First up, Brian, our resident fire-breathing patriot who thinks the shutdown is a good thing because it proves the government can finally take a nap. This guy's idea of a stimulus package is cutting taxes and selling another MAGA mug. Then there's Rachel, the independent voice who somehow survives in this digital cage match every night. She's here to remind us that not every disagreement needs to end in a civil war, which makes her the diplomatic unicorn of this circus. Next, we've got Daniel, the man who looks at a grocery receipt and sees a deep state conspiracy. He's got more red string on his walls than the CIA's evidence board for JFK. And last but not least, Skylar, our progressive Green Party champion who runs on oat milk solar panels and the constant conviction that capitalism is just a social disease we haven't cured yet. She's probably the only one on this show who thinks recycling the Constitution is a good idea. So buckle up, folks. The caffeine's flowing, the mics are hot, and this panel's ready to brawl like it's Thanksgiving dinner at the Pelosi household. All right, let's kick this off with the headline that's hitting more kitchens than CNN's ever reached. The government's still shut down, day 29, and now 42 million Americans are bracing to lose their SNAP benefits because Congress can't agree on whether to feed families or fund their own pay raises. Democrats are blaming Trump's team for manufacturing hunger. Republicans are saying, we're finally cutting the fat, and the rest of the country's just staring at empty shelves wondering who's lying this time. I swear, Washington could set the house on fire and then hold a press conference about the benefits of natural warmth. Rachel, you always come in with the grounded take. How bad does this look outside the Beltway bubble?
It's beyond bad, Artie. It's cynical. Real people don't live in talking point land. They live on grocery budgets and paychecks that don't stretch far enough. Every shutdown gets spun as fiscal responsibility, but the folks who suffer first are single moms, veterans, seniors. SNAP isn't a luxury, it's survival. When politicians say tighten the belt, they mean everyone else's belt while theirs stays leather and monogrammed. I get that spending needs control, but holding nutrition hostage to score debate points is grotesque. You can't balance a moral deficit with an economic spreadsheet.
And that right there is why you're the adult at this table. Brian's already shaking his head like I just told him we're raising taxes on beer. Go ahead, big guy, what's your read?
Look, I get the emotional angle, but let's talk reality. This country's been running on debt like a drunk at an open bar. We print money, we send it overseas, we hand out benefits like Oprah handing out cars, and then we act shocked when the tab shows up. Trump's saying, enough. This isn't cruelty, it's correction. If the system's so fragile that missing a few weeks of funding breaks it, maybe it was broken to begin with. I'm tired of Democrats pretending compassion means infinite credit. You can't build dignity on dependency. The shutdown's ugly, sure, but sometimes you gotta rip the bandage off to stop the bleeding.
Daniel, I can see that look. You're about to say the wound wasn't an accident, aren't you?
Exactly. You think it's coincidence that every budget crisis ends up giving the government more power? They starve the people so they can ride in with digital wallets and universal income promises like saviors. The same agencies accidentally overspent on foreign aid are now the ones deciding who gets to eat. This isn't fiscal policy, it's behavioral conditioning. You create desperation, then you dictate compliance. Tell me it's not strange how every crisis, financial, medical, or now nutritional, ends with them asking for more control. They want citizens dependent and predictable, not self-reliant and loud.
You heard the man, folks. Daniel's stocking canned goods and freedom seeds. Skylar, I know you've got a very different take. So before we all start digging bunkers, what's your angle?
It's pretty simple. The problem isn't too much government, it's bad government priorities. We'll spend billions on defense contractors, corporate bailouts, and stadium subsidies. But the minute poor people need groceries, suddenly it's a fiscal emergency. The shutdown is political theater performed by people who never miss a meal. Republicans call it discipline. I call it cruelty disguised as math. And if we're going to talk about dependency, let's talk about the billion-dollar companies dependent on tax loopholes. No one ever calls that welfare. Maybe if we stopped worshiping greed, feeding children wouldn't be up for debate.
All right, now we're cooking. Rachel's calling it cynical, Brian's calling it necessary, Daniel's calling it orchestrated, and Skylar's calling it capitalism. Somewhere between all that is the truth. Or maybe it's hiding under the last can of beans. Either way, while DC points fingers, Main Street's pawning guitars to buy groceries. That's not policy, that's failure dressed up in partisan press releases. All right, so while the media's busy crying about the shutdown, there's another cage fight brewing. And this one's red on red. Trump's been pushing for mid-cycle redistricting to lock in conservative seats. But some Republican lawmakers in Indiana and Kansas are suddenly clutching their pearls like they just discovered politics is dirty. The same people who spent years shouting election integrity are now saying, well, maybe we shouldn't redraw the map just yet. It's like watching a church picnic turn into WrestleMania. Daniel, you usually have a theory ready before the ink's even dry. What's going on here?
It's power math, plain and simple. Redistricting isn't about fairness. It's about who gets to write history for the next decade. Trump's team wants to preempt the usual blue state trick of slicing up conservative districts like Thanksgiving turkey. The pushback isn't moral, it's fear. State-level Republicans know the second they touch those maps, the lawsuits rain down and the media calls them dictators. Half these resistors are just career politicians terrified of being primaried by someone who actually believes in the movement. It's the classic deep state shuffle. Pretend loyalty on stage, stall the plan backstage, and hope the voters forget by November.
Translation. The swamp didn't drain. It just changed brands. Brian, you're over there nodding like you're watching Trump sign the Declaration of Independence. Jump in here. Is this genius strategy or Republican self-sabotage?
Both, honestly. Trump's playing long-game chess while the state committees are still eating the checkers pieces. You've got governors who want to protect their nonpartisan image, and consultants whispering that redrawing districts might look bad. Buddy, everything looks bad if CNN covers it. You either fight for power or you get steamrolled by people who already decided your district doesn't matter. This isn't the time for polite politics. It's the time for precision strikes. The left gerrymanders with a smile. The right needs to stop apologizing for winning.
That's the Brian gospel right there. Thou shalt not flinch when the other side brings scissors to the map room. Rachel, you've got that teacher about to grade everyone's essays face. What's your read?
Honestly, this whole thing proves how unserious both parties are about reform. Gerrymandering's become the political equivalent of steroids. Everybody does it, everybody denies it, and everybody pretends to be shocked when someone gets caught. The GOP fighting itself shows that ideology is secondary to survival. It's not about serving voters anymore. It's about serving tenure. And when voters see Republicans tearing each other apart while the country's literally half shut down, it feeds the narrative that no one in Washington can govern without a reality TV script.
Oof, harsh but fair. Survivor, Capitol Hill edition. Skylar, I know you've been waiting to say, "I told you so." So go ahead, hit us with it.
Oh, absolutely. This is karma wearing a red tie. For years, conservatives called out Democrats for rigging the system. And now they're eating each other alive over who gets to hold the pen. I don't love gerrymandering either, but at least Democrats are honest about using every legal inch to protect their voters. Republicans built their brand on fair play and now can't decide if they want to follow their own rules. The hypocrisy writes itself. The system's broken because both sides treat democracy like a chessboard where pawns don't matter, and the pawns are the people.
You just made Brian twitch, Skylar. I can practically hear his blood pressure through the headphones. Brian, she's calling out hypocrisy. Any rebuttal before we have to call paramedics?
Yeah, here's my rebuttal. If Democrats stopped trying to turn every swing district into a sanctuary city, we wouldn't need to redraw anything. This isn't hypocrisy, it's defense. You can't play nice when the other team's rewriting the rulebook mid-game. And by the way, Democrats talking about protecting voters is hilarious. They can't even protect a border.
And there it is. Our nightly tradition of turning every topic back to the border. Daniel, you buying Brian's argument, or do you see another shadowy hand behind the curtain?
Always. You can't have this level of chaos without coordination. When party unity cracks, someone's prying it open. There are think tanks, donor networks, and consultants, some claiming to be conservative, that make millions off internal division. The longer Republicans fight each other, the fewer real reforms happen, and the more the bureaucracy wins. That's not coincidence, that's maintenance. Keep the machine running on friction so no one ever sees who's driving it.
All right, now we're deep in the rabbit hole. Rachel's calling it dysfunction. Brian calls it strategy. Daniel says it's sabotage, and Skylar says it's karma. Somewhere in that mix is the soul of the GOP, or what's left of it. You know what this feels like? Like watching a family Thanksgiving where everyone brought a casserole and a knife. And speaking of things that keep us fueled through political carnage, let's lighten it up for a second. Time for the merch drop promo, because capitalism, despite Skylar's protests, still pays for the microphones. All right, before we dive into the circus that is America's cultural identity crisis, we've got to pay the bills, or at least buy the beans. Because this next segment is powered by caffeine, sarcasm, and the last functioning part of capitalism that still tastes good. You already know the lineup: High Lakes Light Roast. Bright, crisp, and optimistic, kind of like the hope you had before filing taxes. Rock Creek Medium Roast. Bold, steady, and balanced. The exact opposite of Congress. Bitterroot Dark French Roast. Strong, unapologetic, and guaranteed to wake you up faster than reading your latest grocery receipt. Every bag's roasted right here in the USA because we still believe in keeping jobs and flavor on American soil. Grab yours at dataanddissonance.printify.me before Skylar replaces them with sustainable kale smoothies or carbon-neutral tea.
Hold up, I'm telling you right now. If Skylar ever bans coffee, that's when the real civil war starts.
Oh, please, I'm not banning it. I'm just saying maybe the beans shouldn't have more air miles than a senator's mistress.
Depends which mistress. Some of them probably come with frequent flyer miles and a lobbyist badge.
See, and this is why we can't have nice things. I'm just over here trying to sip my Rock Creek blend and pretend civilization isn't collapsing.
That's the spirit. Caffeine and denial. The true American combo. All right, folks, grab your mug, refill it, and buckle up. Because if you thought politics was weird, wait till you hear what's happening on the sidelines of the NFL. All right, so while Washington argues over money, America's new battlefield is apparently the 50-yard line. The Minnesota Vikings just introduced a male cheerleader, and social media melted down faster than Hunter Biden's hard drive. Some call it progress, others call it pandering. And me? I call it Tuesday in modern America, where no one can even dance anymore without it turning into a political referendum. Here's the thing, and this might shock both sides. We've had male cheerleaders for years. In colleges, in pro sports, even back in the day when they were there mostly for acrobatics and lifts. Nobody cared because it wasn't made into a statement. But now, everything has to be a symbol, a cause, or a hashtag. Entertainment's supposed to entertain, not divide. You go to a football game to escape the chaos, not to watch it spill onto the field with pom-poms. Now, if we're talking about trans performers in those spaces, that's where I get uneasy, because we're talking about putting adult identity issues front and center in an environment full of kids and families who just came to see the game. That's not hate. That's boundaries. There's a difference between performance and propaganda, and America's forgotten that line. So let's toss this one around. Brian, you're usually the first to spike the ball on cultural nonsense. What's your take?
You nailed it, man. It's not about the dude doing a backflip. It's about the agenda hiding behind the flip. We used to have male cheerleaders at Texas Tech, and nobody blinked. But back then, it wasn't wrapped in rainbow branding and sponsored by an HR department. Everything now has to be activism. Every halftime show, every ad, every movie trailer, it's all moral signaling. And what bugs me most, they always pretend they're being inclusive when they're really just trying to provoke outrage for clicks. It's like the left figured out controversy sells better than tickets.
Yeah, outrage is the new marketing plan. Every corporation's running focus groups asking, how can we piss off half the country this quarter? Rachel, you're usually the calm in the culture storm. Where's your compass pointing on this?
I get both sides of it. On one hand, representation's a real thing. People like seeing themselves reflected in the world around them. But somewhere along the line, the difference between visibility and virtue signaling disappeared. The NFL should be about the sport, not the sociology. You can have diversity without turning the whole brand into a lecture. The irony is, by trying so hard to prove how inclusive they are, they end up alienating the people who just wanted to watch football and eat nachos in peace.
Amen to that. Bring back the nacho-based unity this country used to have. Daniel, you're smirking like you found an Illuminati logo hidden in the Vikings logo? What's going on in that brain of yours?
Oh, it's there, trust me. Look, you said it earlier. It's about conditioning. They pick these small cultural hills to die on because it keeps everyone arguing about symbolism instead of systems. The more they can divide us emotionally, the less we notice what's happening legislatively. Today, it's male cheerleaders. Tomorrow, it's gender-neutral national anthems. None of this is spontaneous. It's engineered distraction. When people are fighting about feelings, they're not asking questions about power.
And that, folks, is why Daniel's walls look like a cross between Homeland and a craft store. Skylar, you're up. You're usually waving the banner for progress. Does any of this go too far in your book?
I get the frustration, but I also think we overreact. Representation's not propaganda. It's just visibility. For decades, cheerleading and sports have been hyper-gendered spaces. If someone wants to break that mold, who's it really hurting? The outrage feels bigger than the issue. We talk about protecting kids, but kids aren't traumatized by seeing diversity. Adults are uncomfortable because they're clinging to nostalgia. Maybe instead of assuming bad motives, we let people express themselves and keep politics off both sides of the sideline.
See, and that's where this whole debate lands, somewhere between discomfort and overcorrection. We can acknowledge inclusion without turning halftime into a sociology dissertation. I don't care if a guy can tumble. If he's part of the team, cool. But when the goal stops being performance and starts being provocation, that's when the crowd tunes out. Sports used to be one of the few things that unified us. Now even touchdowns have a political comment section. And that, my friends, is how we ruin joy in real time. All right, let's exhale. Politics in the locker room, propaganda in the playbook. All of it's a symptom of a nation desperate to find meaning but allergic to boundaries. And with that, let's shift gears into something heartfelt. All right, folks, what a ride tonight. From Washington's financial food fight to the GOP eating its own to America arguing about who can dance at halftime. We've covered it all. The studio smells like coffee, stress, and barely contained patriotism. Before we roll out, it's time for one of my favorite parts of the night. The final thoughts. No scripts, no filters, just the crew giving it to you straight. Brian, I can see that grin. Lead us off, brother.
Look, everything we talked about tonight, shutdowns, party squabbles, woke halftime shows, it all points to the same disease, comfort. America got too comfortable thinking someone else would fix it. We outsourced responsibility to bureaucrats, influencers, and billion-dollar leagues that don't give a damn about us. You want change? Stop waiting for it. Start voting like it matters. Start buying American. Start speaking truth, even if it costs you friends. The country doesn't need more politicians. It needs people with guts again.
Preach it, Brian. Rachel, you've been the calm voice all night. Balance us out.
I think what we forget sometimes is that disagreement doesn't have to mean destruction. Politics used to be about persuasion, not performance art. We can hold leaders accountable without hating our neighbors. Somewhere between outrage and apathy is actual civic duty, showing up, listening, engaging. The country's tired, but it's not broken yet. We just need to remember we're on the same team, even if we argue about the playbook.
And that right there is the adult perspective we desperately need. Daniel, your turn. Give us the closing shot from the tinfoil battalion.
Hey, I'll wear the tinfoil with pride, man. Because the pattern's always the same. Chaos, distraction, dependency. They keep us chasing headlines while they rewrite history books. But here's the thing they never count on. People waking up. Whether it's parents at school boards or workers saying, no more, truth's got a funny way of surviving censorship. My final thought? Pay attention to what they tell you not to look at. That's where the truth's hiding.
And somewhere out there, a deep state intern just spilled their oat milk. Skylar, round us out. The last word's yours.
I'll say this. For all the noise, we're still here, still talking. That's the win. Real democracy isn't quiet. It's messy, loud, and uncomfortable. The shutdown, the arguments, even these culture wars, they prove people still care. We can yell about ideology all night, but at least we're not numb. My hope is that someday the energy we spend fighting each other gets redirected toward fixing what's actually broken.
Well said. It's the friction that keeps the fire alive. You know, every night we sit here behind these mics talking about politics, power, and the pulse of this country. But underneath it all, what we're really talking about is identity. Who we are, what we stand for, and whether we've still got enough backbone left to defend it. We live in a world that monetizes outrage and rewards ignorance. The media sells fear, the elites sell control, and we buy both because we're too tired to argue. But the truth is, America's still worth arguing for. It's still the land where a mechanic, a mom, a soldier, or a scruffy podcast host can make their voice heard. So as the shutdown drags on and the culture fights keep raging, remember this. The loudest voices don't always represent the real people. You do. Keep speaking up, keep laughing, keep thinking for yourself. Because once they take your ability to think, they don't need to censor you. You'll do it for them. And as always, remember to speak truth, stir thought. That's going to wrap it up for this Wednesday edition of Data and Dissonance. If you liked what you heard, share the show, grab some merch, and drop us a line on the Data and Dissonance Facebook page. Or just scream into the void like the rest of Twitter. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same unapologetic energy. Stay loud, stay free, and stay caffeinated. Tonight's episode was brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller series, The Covenant Protocol, The Prophet Directive, and coming soon, Black Echo Rising. Find them on Amazon. Dive into the fight for truth, and remember, sometimes fiction says what the news won't.